10 Supercross breakdown. We're going to talk about the two championship contenders, Cooper Webb and Chase Sexton. We all know who I think is going to win, which is got the red plate. But if you like this content, make sure you hit that subscribe and notification icon. Here you have during race 2, Cooper Webb. Notice how he shifted up as he's getting ready to enter the whoops. These guys shift up and then they roll speed around so that they're not shifting right before, so they can slowly accelerate and stay on top of the whoops, no matter if there's only 9 of them. But I digress. The point of this is you can see how he just nosedives and crashes. But I will go one further. If he didn't have Supercross suspension, if this was motocross suspension, he would have been just fine. The motorcycle needed to compress and push out. But because of how stiff these guys run for Supercross, if you've ever had the liberty of having a Supercross bike or touching one of these bikes and pushing down on them, you can hardly get them to move. Those front ends are almost like a hardtail. So it just didn't allow the motorcycle to push. So therefore, where did the inertia go? And it just dropped him. And these guys are running into these corners with such inertia. And it doesn't really do it justice, the TV coverage, because these berms are they look almost like walls. They are built for speed. That's why these guys are able to just come in and shift up, as Cooper does right here, and just roll all the way through and keep their speed up. And I was rather impressed with this individual, Sexton, during the final race. Not for this mistake, but just for letting Cooper go by and winning the overall, because that's what he needs. He isn't lacking speed. What he's lacking is racecraft. So if he can up that game, which theoretically should be easy. It's not like you're going back to the pits and you're going, how do I find 3 effing seconds? You go, no, how do I just have a little bit better strategy? And that's partially to the people that he surrounds himself with. So they are trying to help him out as much as they can. But here, this is the problem with Sexton, and this is how Cooper Webb is going to defeat and win the title, is if he can pressure Sexton, get him to not racing forward, but looking back, he's going to make mistakes and either crash or just give up the lead, as he does here. Pretty standard. These guys were trying to stay out of the gnarly dry ruts, so they're all cutting down. But I believe that there was more to this. He got on the gas a little too early and slid out, which enabled Cooper Webb to come and catch him and pass him. And that, I don't believe, was much of a mistake as Sexton as it was pressure from Cooper Webb. And I want to know what you guys think in the comments, because I definitely read all of them. And moving to the 250, the rider I am the most impressed with is Seth. He's coming off of a win beating both East and West, and so he's like, why don't I just win my own East Coast? Watch what he does here. He goes double, then triple, then seat bounces and quads, and this was the exact quad that Max ended up breaking his fibula on because he wasn't able to do it. It was definitely faster, and the 250 struggled, and Deegan wasn't there to bust it out every single lap. So Seth, this is why he was the fastest guy on the track, because of this one section here. And it's something that I pointed out in my track analysis video that the 250s were going to have an issue with, but he was only able to do it the first couple laps after the track crew came through and got rid of the ruts. Because if you watch when he comes through here after there's some ruts, you can see him just barely cases it. And that's exactly what happened to Max, but then Max ended up breaking his fib here. But if I back up here, what's more impressive is watch him as he pushes down. He's in that attack position and he's pushing down, getting ready to preload. And at the last second, he sits down, curls his hips, and stands straight up. He doesn't stand forward on the motorcycle, because that is the biggest mistake is when they go to seat bounce, they end up leaning forward and it creates that endo. So if you're practicing this, you want to sit down, roll the hips, and then stand straight up. You can do it easily on your stand in the garage. But if you had to pick between the two, preloading is definitely faster because it doesn't give you as much pop. Therefore, the motorcycle is able to return to the ground faster, and just traction, wheels on the ground, get it propelled forward. And every Supercross rider needs to have a seat bounce in their back pocket, because they're going to need to use it often, because you just get that few extra inches of lift. And we all know that extra inches end up going a long ways. And yes, I wasn't the biggest fan of the 90-degree corners because it just was one line, just like here with the finish line. Nobody ever went to the berm. It was just follow the leader. But what was impressive is these guys able to lean over and scrub, and watch Sexton, the height difference between his teammate AP as he comes across. Just beautifully done. And there is just a couple tenths, maybe even just a tenth of a second a lap. But you can see how much closer he's able to get after he lands. Just impressive. I could watch scrubs all day. Nobody does it like Stewart, but that was a pretty gnarly scrub that Sexton was continuing lap after lap able to do. And one thing that Carmichael picked up on that I think I should highlight was RJ. He's not always the best starter, but watch what he does here. He comes out and he leans, okay? He gets one foot on the foot peg, okay? It was his rear brake. You might have wanted to get your shifter on there first on his left leg, but you can see he's using his middle finger. A lot of these guys are using their middle finger. Sometimes you'll see mini bike guys use two fingers, but really one finger is what you should be doing. And the middle finger, you're able to still have your index and your thumb hold on, because you don't want to hold on to the motorcycle a lot, but you have much higher grip strength with these two fingers than the last two fingers. So, you still able to let the other fingers relax so that you're not getting as much arm pump. But watch what he does. Let's highlight this and look at that clutch. Boom, boom, boom. He hits it 3 different times to keep that front end down. Not to mention that he's wheeling, and so the front wheel is just sitting there dancing, and his weight is off. So as soon as he comes, boom, he pushes down on his right, the rear brake side. That gets him off balance. And so he's trying to counteract with the wheelie. And so beautifully, elbows up. Well executed, besides the little off balance deal, but that was just enough to make it to where he was unable to get a start ahead of some of his teammates. There you have it, round 10 Supercross analysis. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and see you next time, you two-wheel knuckleheads.